Hi, and welcome to Lisa T Creations. My name is Lisa. I'm the Lisa behind Lisa T Creations. Whether you're new here or a returning subscriber, I thank you so much for being here. And if you are new, I do invite you to subscribe to the channel. And for everybody, liking the video and leaving comments really helps me grow, so I invite you to do that as well. So in today's video, it's going to be the fourth installment of my beginners series, and today we're going to talk a little bit about, well, we're going to talk a whole lot about notions. Now, sewing notions are just as wide and as varied as the fabric. You can buy, I mean, there's tons of them. I'm just going to go over a few of the basics that I use on, I use pretty frequently. And so the first thing we're going to talk about is scissors, because scissors is a requirement for sewing. These are my thread scissors that I use to cut thread. And they have a sharp point. You can also use these when you need to get into tight corners when you're cutting out your patterns. And then these are just general fabric scissors. You want to use your scissors exclusively for fabric. Don't use them for anything else, because it dulls the blade, and then you won't have as clean a cut when you're cutting your fabric. So make sure whatever scissors you buy, you dedicate them strictly to fabric use, and have your general scissors for something else. And then you also, a rotary cutter comes in handy. It is not a requirement to sew. You can just start out with just basic scissors, but a rotary cutter would be your best friend. It makes cutting fabric down to size and a dream. So it's, I consider the scissors and the rotary cutter just like almost mandatory equipment. So those are some of your basics. You also have rulers of different sizes. This one is 4.5. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's orange around. This is the half mark. And again, it's really helpful when you're cutting fabric, when you have that kind of ruler, and you need a 1/2 inch seam. You can also get them plain. These ones come from Walmart. I live on a budget, so Walmart rulers are better than no rulers. And that one was a 6-inch square. But then you also have long rulers like this one. This one is an 18-inch ruler, and it's 3 inches wide. And for cutting fabric, it is, you can see the hash marks on there. So that's, those are really important when you're cutting fabric. And then you also have the really long ones. This one is a 24-inch ruler, and it's 6 inches wide. But you can also get these perfectly square in a 10 by 10. You can also get them 12 by 12. I mean, the rulers that you use with your rotary cutter, these come in all shapes and sizes, and all kinds of quality, and all different kinds of hash marks on them to help you cut your fabric. So it just depends on what you're looking for and what your pattern calls for. So keep that in mind when you're shopping. So if you're just starting out and you're on a budget like me, Walmart does have a pretty decent variety of sizes in their craft department as far as rulers. So it's a good place to start for all your supplies. Now the other measuring thing, if you are measuring, if you want to make clothes especially, becomes more important. But you can also get these are measuring tapes. I'm gonna undo this one so you can see it a little bit. They just unfold, and they are like a very flexible ruler. And they usually come in, I think most rulers, most of these measuring tapes, this is 60 inches long, and that's about average for a measuring tape. But they do come in all different lengths, sizes, colors, you know, but they're useful, especially when you need measurements for clothing. That's what they are useful for. Now there are a lot of different, and hang on just one second. Okay, all right. So there are different kinds of marking pencils that or marking tools that you might use. This is, keep in mind that these pencils do not erase with heat, and they don't wash away. These are permanent pencils, but if you're marking something to cut away, these will be fine. You also, this one is, it's not a friction pen, but it is an erasable ink where it erases when you iron it. These are amazing. I love these kind of pens where the ink just disappears when you iron it, because then you don't have to worry about that ink being visible. This particular set that I bought come in several different colors, so you can get it in different colors. Sometimes I just use your basic pencil and a pen, you know, whatever you can think of. I mean, whatever works for you. Just keep in mind that when you're using permanent ink, you got to be careful to cut that off or put it in the seam allowance where it doesn't show. And so apart from the marking tools, now I use this as a point turner. Now most point turners do not look like this. This is a scoring tool from scrapbooking, but it also works for turning out the points. So sometimes you can actually buy a point turner. Sometimes if you need to poke holes in something, especially if you're putting snaps on, this is a tailor's awl. That's what it is used for. It's also useful for helping you get things under the presser foot without catching your fingers in the needle or the presser foot. A seam ripper is your best friend. That's what a seam ripper looks like. And when you're especially when you're starting out, you're gonna mess up a lot, and a seam ripper will help you start over, because it's just what it is. It rips out the seams. The other thing I forgot to show y'all when I was talking about marking tools is this tailor's chalk. I like the tailor's chalk for marking the lines when I am going to quilt something. I'm not very visual and I can't sew straight enough, so I always mark the fabric in the lines so I can stay on a straight line, and my quilting looks much better that way. This is a hand seam print. Sometimes when you're, especially I've learned when you're working with vinyl, that it's just got rounded ends on both sides, and you just slide it across the seam. Especially when you're working with vinyl, because you can't press vinyl. So this hand seam presser is very useful for working with vinyl. I just found this in my stash, and now that I found it, I'm gonna keep it out because it'll come in very handy. Now when you're working with rulers, you can also get these little grips to put on the back of your ruler. So it keeps your ruler from sliding around on the fabric. it helps you to cut more evenly. So that is a notion you might be able to find. So the other thing is, well, this is a pin cushion, and obviously I have a bunch of pins in there. You're going to use these pins for sewing quite a bit. This one is bent and sticky, so I kind of need to throw that one away, but you're going to use pins because there are times when your clips are not going to do the job and you're going to need pins. So speaking of clips, I forgot to put them out here. These are very useful little things. This little, they have a flat side and a roundy side. You want to put your flat side against your sewing machine platform. And it helps it slide through better. I just learned that. Go figure. But having a bunch of clips to hold your seams together while you're sewing them is really important. And they come in handy. You can buy them 100 at a time. Some of them come in a little tin like this one did. So the other kind of pins that you might need is, I do not like spray basting because the adhesive kind of smells and it's kind of vaporous, so it gets the kind that I've been using, I just don't like spray basting. So when you're putting your quilt sandwiches together, you got to have something to hold everything in place. So the safety pins, basic safety pins, but they also make some specifically for quilting that are kind of bent in the middle, like this one is. I'm not sure if you can see that. It's probably a little better. But they're bent and they just go, so you can sandwich that together and hold that in place. So there are also, when I was talking about rulers, I kind of skipped something, and that there are specialty kind of rulers. Like this one will help you do a hexagon, and this one is point, triangle. Sometimes my brain don't work right. Okay, so the other thing that you might use, especially when you're working with zippers, is some double-sided tape. This one is about a 1/2 inch, and ideally you don't want to, well, maybe it's a little over a 1/4 inch, but ideally you want a 1/4 inch to keep your needle from getting gummed up. But they didn't have a 1/4 inch, so I just bought this. It looks to me about a 1/2 inch, but this double-sided tape can help you when you're sewing your zippers to keep your zippers from moving around, because sometimes even when you clip them, they move around a little bit. This will help you keep them in place. There's also some glue that you can buy. It's a little glue stick. It's very similar to, you know, a child's glue stick, only this is made for sewing. And sometimes these things come in handy, especially when you're working with vinyl, or you're working with cork, or when you're working with anything that you can't poke a needle through, and you need it to stay stable in order to have a good seam line. So there are, like I said, there are so many different kind of notions, but the ones that I use a lot, in the projects that I make, these are they're just little magnet closures. I use these for purses. This is a purse closure. There are all different kinds of hardware that you can use for making purses. Now, if you watched my last haul video, you know that I bought a bunch of these. And this is a metal frame for making a purse. And to me, I still consider those things sewing notions. You use them to make things. There is so much different sewing hardware that you can buy out there. These closures and frames and stuff, they're just a few. I mean, I have a whole little jar full of nothing but buttons, because buttons are a social. I mean, when you go into Walmart especially, or Hobby Lobby, or some of the quilt stores even, the variety of the buttons and the ribbons, and it's just a phenomenal amount of notions that you can buy. So we're going over just a few of them. So you can also buy something that's a thread zapper. Sometimes you need a thread zapper. Sometimes you need a lighter for singeing the ends of zippers. And there are just so many different tools that you can use. Like this one is a snap setter. It's the metal snap setter. That's just one of the tools. This one is this little thing. It's a pouncer. So you use it with a stencil to mark if you're going to free motion quilt. There's also a million different kinds of patterns. This one is a pattern for a bag. This one that I bought just recently was a pattern for a purse. You have tools. These are fingertips to help you keep good grip on your fabric while you're free motion quilting. You also need gloves like this one. These are white, so keep them in the package so they don't get dirty. In this box, it is where this is the little tool that you use. Whoops, it fell apart. This is the little tool that you use to fix the plastic snaps with. I have yet to use it. I bought the plastic snaps and I bought the wrong tool. I bought this tool instead, and you kind of need a different tool for the plastic snaps because they work a little bit differently. But these come in a set that you can buy, and that comes with all the attachments, different size snaps, dies that you need to make plastic snaps work. And then the other one that I have recently learned to use is this grommet. I'm not sure if you can see that very well. These grommets. You got to have a special tool to set a grommet, which basically it's a hammer and this little plastic thing on the bottom, and this little metal setter on the top, and you put them together and you hammer on the top, and it sets that grommet for you, so it doesn't come off your fabric. So, like I said, there are so many. I mean, like, even I consider zippers. This zipper is in a project that I'm working on and haven't finished yet, but there's zippers. If you watch my haul video, you know you can buy zippers in yardage tapes, or you can buy zippers that are specific size that already have the zipper pull and everything. There are so many different kinds of notions, and I have not really finished exploring everything. I mean, there's just so much, but sewing notions can be so much fun. It is a bit of an expensive hobby, but if you buy them over time, the notions are not that bad. And I have managed to collect my different notions over the last 5 or 6 years, and so when you do it over time, it's it's not going to break the bank. You just buy them a little bit at a time, and it's, you know, it's manageable. But like I said, there are just as many notions as there are people in the world, probably, and they're a lot of fun to explore. So if you made it this far, thank you so very much for watching this video. I appreciate your time and attention, and I hope to see you in the next video, and have a great day.